Hello and good morning, friends. It's me, Caitlin, and for the first time in 2 years, welcome back to Reading with Marie. So, where am I now? I just graduated high school, like a week and a half ago-ish, something like that. I'm moving to New York in the fall. I'm going to NYU Tisch School of the Arts. I'll be majoring in acting. I'm in the Playwrights Horizon studio, which means I get to create new theater, which is super exciting. Very excited about that. But for today, we're actually talking about Girl Scouts. Yay! So, Girl Scouts. I have been a scout for about 13 years. I started as a daisy in kindergarten. I moved all the way up to ambassadors in high school, which is a long time to do one thing. I got a cord for it at graduation. That was pretty cool. And I started with a group of about 10 or so girls maybe in kindergarten, and I ended with a group of 6 entirely different people at the end. And people join or quit Girl Scouts for a variety of different reasons. Some people don't have time, some people just don't enjoy it anymore. For me, it was an overall positive experience, right? I was afforded a lot of leadership opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I got to go to camp with new people that I'd never met, and I gained a lot of new skills and experiences, which I'm going to talk about today. So the main point of this video today is to actually talk about my Gold Award. And if you don't know what a Gold Award is, it's like the final project for Girl Scouts, right? And not everybody has to do it. Like, it's not a required thing to, like, oh, you have to, like, do a Gold Award to graduate Girl Scouts. But it's a thing that a lot of girls, if they've stayed in through high school, a lot of them are working towards their Gold Award. And if you're familiar with Boy Scouts, it is similar in concept to an Eagle Scout, right? Like, it is kind of the highest award that you can achieve through Girl Scouting, similar to how the Eagle Scout is the highest award, I think. I could be wrong, but the highest award that you can achieve through Boy Scouts. But what really is it, right? Like, I say that. I can say it's the highest award in Girl Scouting, and you can look at me with a blank stare on your face and be like, okay, like, that means nothing to me. The concept of a Gold Award is basically to find a community need and address it in a way that is sustainable. The first step of your Gold Award is to actually identify a need that you want to address. And so some people look for something they're passionate about, like some people might really like animals, and so they want to do something with an animal shelter. Some people love art, and so they want to showcase young artists in their community, something like that. Or you can just look around your community and find something that you think needs to be addressed. And so for me, it was actually a combination of both, right? I took AP Lang my junior year of high school, and my project actually stemmed from that class. Because one of the big things in that class was sharing your writing, right? We would work days or weeks on these writing projects, and then we would print them out and we would go around the room and share them. But it became evident to me as we continued through the school year that not everybody was actually confident in sharing their own writing, right? So I was thinking about that a lot, but I didn't know necessarily how to go about that. And so I started with a survey that I pushed out just through my Instagram. So it was not to a lot of people, but I pushed out a survey that asked people like how confident they were in their writing and how often they saw themselves represented in media. And it was a good idea in theory, right? If I had chosen my community partner earlier and asked them to put that survey out, I think it would have gotten more responses. But when I put it out on my Instagram, it got 2 responses, which was not enough to pull any data from. So I was a little discouraged by that, but I decided I still wanted to do something within the concept of encouraging more writers to share their work. And so I started looking for a community partner. Now, a community partner is another one of the big things that you have to do with a Gold Award, is you have to find somebody in your area that is willing to help sponsor your project and is willing to continue it after you've left. So I chose to partner with a group called Art Play, which is an organization in my area that's actually attached to the University of Alabama at Birmingham and the Alice Stevens Center and all those things. And they do a lot of arts outreach with kids and teens specifically, but they do a visual art camp, and they do musical theater camps that I went to for years, and so that's how I learned about them. But they also do poetry workshops and writing workshops, and so I decided to partner with them because I felt like they had a similar goal of encouraging young people in their art, and they would be able to help me, again, push my idea out to more people, and they would also be able to help me find a space where I could like test out my ideas, right? And so I decided to partner with ArtPlay. I worked with a wonderful sponsor there named Molly. She was very nice. Shout out to her. I have not emailed you in forever, and I absolutely should. But I decided to work with ArtPlay, and through working with Molly and ArtPlay, I came up with the idea of a writing circle. So one of the big things that ArtPlay does is these like year-long or semester-long or like even 6 to 8 week courses, and they're like classes where they talk about a specific art form. So they've had like knitting classes, and they have dance classes, and they have writing workshops. And so I wanted to create something that fit within that timeline but was not necessarily a class, which is how I ended up with the writing circle thing, where yes, we did have like planned out meetings where there were specific things that we needed to do every meeting, but I wanted it to feel more like a community who was doing all those things together and not necessarily a class. That's not something that I necessarily succeeded with, right? And if I were to do the course again, I would do it differently in a way that felt more collaborative and less like I was getting on a Zoom call and teaching. I did have to do it on Zoom because of COVID. But I would have done it, I think, in a way that did not feel like, oh my God, we have to go to class again, right? Oh my God, we have to go to this class on Saturday. I would have done it in a way that felt more like a club and less like a class. So I decided on a project, I found a community sponsor, but then it was time to actually start the course. So I created, again, a 7-week course. I called it Telling Her Story. We had maybe 5 people sign up, unfortunately. Again, that was my fault. I didn't give my material to Molly soon enough for her to like advertise it before signups were due, right? So I gave it to her with like 2 days before signups. It really should have gone out like a month before sign up and then gone out over and over and over again to remind people. But because I didn't communicate effectively and I didn't do it in time, it didn't go out in time, which is fine. We still ended up with 5 people, I think, participating, and it was a great group. Everybody was super sweet. It also meant that I could form a more personal connection with everybody, which I think is really important if you're going to do like a writing circle like this, is to find a community, right? Is to find a group of people who feel like they want to work together and they all get along. And so it worked really well with a smaller group. I would have liked it to have been a larger group, but having a smaller group was not like detrimental to the project, right? And so I came up with this plan where I brought in guest speakers, and we talked about like poetry one day, short stories another day. We talked about activism through writing, which was really cool. And these were all people that Molly put me in touch with and who were great speakers. Another mistake of mine was not being organized enough with paying them, right? I have email phobia. I hate answering emails. I've gotten better at it as I've had to like go through my college process, and I've had to email specific professors, and I've had to email admissions counselors, stuff like that. I've gotten better at it, but at the time, like my sophomore, junior year of high school, I was really, really bad about answering emails. It always stressed me out when I got one and I didn't want to read it, and then I didn't want to answer it because like I didn't have time. And then I was like, well, I can't send emails after 5 o'clock, and I can't send emails on a weekend. A lot of what held me back in this project was stressing about whether I was doing things right, and so I didn't do them at all, when the project is meant to be a learning experience for you. And that's another great thing about having a community partner, is that you have an adult who preferably has worked on a somewhat similar thing before, who's able to help you through the steps. Like when I didn't know how I should advertise this group, Molly was the one who was like, well, you need to come up with a logo and something that we can post on social media and maybe a flyer, something like that. So it was really helpful to me to have a community partner, which is why choosing your community partner or your community sponsor is so important. So with my project, right, I had identified the issue. The issue was that people were not sharing their writing in class. I had identified the root cause, which was that people weren't confident in their writing. The next step was to address that root cause in a sustainable way, right? So one 7-week course with 5 people does not solve the problem of young people not being confident enough in their writing to share it with their class. The way to make that sustainable is to allow other people to replicate what I did with my group. And that is where this comes in. So, surprise, surprise, this video is actually part of my sustainability piece, and I'm going to have this packet linked in the description so that if you want to create a similar writing circle, you can do so with your friends. If you're a teacher that's looking for something to do with students, maybe in a creative writing club, something like that, you can use these. I know I'm not like qualified to write curriculum, so I wouldn't necessarily say use this in your classes unless it fits within the curriculum you're already teaching. I am not a teacher, I don't have an education degree, but I did write lesson plans for 8 meetings. And I say lesson plans because I don't really know another way to describe it. I know, again, like, it's not a class. I don't want it to be a class. I don't want it to feel like people are having to go to school again and they're having to teach whenever they follow this. But it's the best way to describe it. So it includes 8 planned out meetings. It also has a resources section. So there are times when I mention something like the interviewing your character activity, right? I mention interviewing your character, but I don't actually have it in the meeting. That is contained in the resources section in the back, and it's like a list of questions that you fill out as if you were the character. Or there's examples of activities, so like there's one where I say you can make a Pinterest board, and I have an example of what that would look like if you've never made a Pinterest board, you've never made a mood board, right? So it includes 8 planned out meetings, a resources section, and then it also has a page of websites that I used when I was creating it. So they might be websites that I pulled writing prompts from. They could be places that had lessons that I really liked that I pulled activities from, stuff like that. But I have a sources page so that if you want more resources to go back and look at, you have that. So that's sort of an overview of my experience with the Gold Award, my Gold Award project. Again, the Telling Your Story packet will be linked in the description of this video so that if you want to start your own writing circle, right, or something like that, you can. You won't have to pay for it. It should just be a free PDF download. This video also won't be monetized because part of the Gold Award is that you should not earn any money from your project, right? It is a community service project. It's not a small business. This is just so that young people can become more confident in their writing, we can have more diverse storylines like that, and people will feel like they can share their writing with others. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have questions about the Gold Award, if you're looking at joining Scouts, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope everyone has a great day. Peace out, Girl Scout. That was lame.